Hey, Spirit Lifters, good day, and I hope you're doing well. I'm here with Valentina, and we hope you're all having a great day. In this interview of Spirit Lift, I interview Leon from the UK. Leon is a certified therapist who uses a combination of hypnosis, regression therapy, and psychotherapy. These are effective therapies to resolve issues of past experiences, anxiety, and depression, as well as being a beneficial approach for people to understand who they are as a soul, which will help bring more meaning to their life. So I hope you enjoyed this interview with Leon, and take care, Spirit Lifters. Have a great day. Leon, welcome to Spirit Lift.
Hi.
It's a pleasure to speak with you in this episode, and I thank you so much for speaking to our Spirit Lifters today. And just so our Spirit Lifters know, Leon, you do several types of therapies. You're a certified professional in several different areas, and we'll talk about one of the therapies you do first. Let's talk about hypnotherapy, okay? Can you please explain what hypnotherapy is?
Hypnotherapy is really utilizing that mindset when we access the deeper mind. So we have a lot of stuff in the deeper mind, let's say, that is active in the sense that we have knee-jerk reactions to things, and some of those things are good and appropriate. And some of those things might have been good and appropriate at the time when we developed them, but as we get older, they can become less appropriate, they can be behaviors that are outdated. So it's a bit like going into the hard drive and changing the programming. So hypnosis is really accessing the deeper mind so we can update the knee-jerk reactions to situations that might be inappropriate.
Okay. And what inspired you to get into this line of work, first of all, as well, speaking about this?
Okay, well, I think several things inspired me to get into it, but the real main thing that really got me into it is I had a past life regression with another therapist who was a regression.
All right. Mm-hmm.
And that really opened my mind to it all and inspired me. So that kind of sent me on this journey of discovering what it really is and how hypnosis works, because I had this desire to not only recreate it for myself, but share it with other people. So I initially studied hypnosis to understand it before I did my official training. And from there, to understand hypnosis fully kind of got me into this world of therapy and realizing how powerful that can be, because we can have the idea that we might want to do things differently, but when it's that deeper program stuff coming from the deeper mind, we don't think about what we do before we do it. It just sort of happens. And with hypnosis, we're able to go in and learn new ways that kind of get into the deeper mind so that our response.
And Leon, can you explain the process a little bit? How having a session through hypnotherapy, like how immediate is the impact that you can feel better, or like what's the process of actually doing it, and how would you feel better in time through it?
Okay, it can be immediate. With some clients who only need one session, if we are able to get to the root of something and resolve it, it can be one session, because we have our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. When we access the subconscious mind and we're able to really hit the nail on the head, as it were, really get to the core issue that needs to be changed, and we change it, then everything's different. Sometimes it's that straightforward, and sometimes we kind of got to get through some other stuff first. There could be, so to talk on the process of how this works, some people, for them it's easier to go into hypnosis, and we're able to get to that point of accessing the deeper mind with less time. Other people, there can be resistance. So some of the work is about getting them to that space where they can work in a subconscious, on the subconscious, so they can actually work in that way. So it's sort of varied depending on where someone's at any one time, if that makes sense. Because the process that I use, unlike a stage hypnotist that would use more of a, they might tend to use more of the fright aspect, because when we get a shock, we go into a trance. So hypnosis is a natural process. It's we go in and out of a trance all the time. So really, hypnosis is more talking to utilizing the trance state. So when we're in a trance, the subconscious comes to the surface. So when somebody has an accident, a car accident, everything slows down and the subconscious mind comes forward and it's taking in all the information because it's looking to see what it needs to learn about this situation. So in the future, it can go, this is dangerous. So when that can get a bit skewed, someone then might be feeling really nervous every time they get in a car, because last time they got in a car, they had an accident, right? So the subconscious mind is, this is dangerous. So what happens is there's this felt sense of danger that can be overwhelming.
So essentially through hypnotherapy, you're like some of these traumas, some of these issues that people have been dealing with most of their life, I imagine this as being hidden down somewhere inside of you, maybe, or somewhere. It's kind of being suppressed in some sense. What you do is help alleviate that, bring it to the surface, and then there's a release of energy and healing to some degree that comes to light for people. And maybe they won't be completely, let's say, alleviated from that previous trauma or whatnot, but they will. It'll come to surface enough for them to have some form of reconciliation, I guess, and feeling a little better. Is that how that works?
I suppose a more succinct, clear way I could explain it is, if somebody, when they're a kid, gets attacked by a dog, that's a scary event. So they go into a trance when they're attacked by a dog because it's real scary stuff. And the deeper mind may take on this belief and understanding, which you could say might be correct, is dogs are dangerous. Now, that person then might go on through their life having a panic attack every time they see a dog. Mm-hmm. Now, other people might say, no, my dog's safe. It's a really nice dog. But the person may on a conscious level see that it's a nice dog, but they still get a panic attack and they can't go near the dog because the deeper mind is not aware of what's being conveyed on the conscious level. So with hypnosis, through a process, which is usually through a process of deep relaxation, which is the way I take people into a trance, we're able to access the deeper mind, so the deeper mind can learn, okay, so I recognize which is a dangerous dog and which is a safe dog. Not all dogs are dangerous, so there can be this new learning, so that then when I see a dog, I don't feel that it's a danger. It kind of brings it into a new learning for the mind, So like with a car accident, not every time you go in a car, you're going to have an accident. But somebody could have taken on that as a limiting belief, if you like. So with hypnosis, when we're able to really get to that core issue and we understand what it is that's activated the feeling, a lot of time people don't necessarily understand what it is, it's just a feeling. When we get to understand what's generating that feeling and we can get to the bottom of that, then we can start to go, okay, well, this is something we can change. This is a program, if you like, that can be altered so that it now serves us better. Does that make sense there? Yeah,
and within that same token, I know that you do, giving that example of that particular situation with the dog and being a child and that trauma at that time. Let's go a bit more deeply into the work you do. I think you term it inner child healing. Inner child work. Can you explain what that is, please?
So I use inner child work in like from a psychotherapeutic approach as well as in hypnosis. And in hypnosis, the approach is, so when somebody goes back into a childhood trauma, which can be quite common because as children, because of our age and our size and our ability to process things, we can become wounded quite easily from experiences. And these wounds stick with us in the sense that if we were abandoned or or abused in some way at a certain age, there can be that certain situations in our adult life trigger the response of that child, in the sense that we may act out in an immature way because there's a part of us that was never able to develop. And this is also relevant that if our parents have a part of them that was never able to develop emotionally, then it's very difficult for us as children of those parents to develop emotionally, because there's that lacking in understanding of being able to work through those emotions. You follow me? So within the hypnosis, it's a case of going back and reconnecting with that part of ourselves that needs to be comforted, needs to be nurtured and cared for in the way that which was missing when we were children. So in a sense, there's this, we become the parent of the inner child. So that, because if you think of it in the sense that somebody has a bad behavior and it's quite childish and immature, that's the part of themselves they hate normally, right? So there's this tendency to push that away. I hate it when I do that. It might not even be cognitively put into words, but there's this feeling of, I'm ashamed of what I said with my partner, with my friends, or when I was out last night, you know, and that's the inner child being kind of, again, neglected and pushed away. Where to heal this, there is this need to understand it, embrace it, and say, it's okay. You know, I'm going to be here for you. I mean, I think that's the most simplest way I can explain.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting, and it's sometimes hard to put into words what's going on, I can imagine. But I have a question related to that as well, Leon, in the sense that, because I don't know, like, do you see sometimes with some patients when these issues come to arise, confronting that and trying to get past it, or trying to get over it, or trying to come to terms with it, can lead to incidentally other types of trauma? Like you face it again, or you face some, that issue, but it can put you in a state of shock. Do you see that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and this is why regression and hypnosis is really great for that, because in hypnosis we are bypassing the amygdala, the part of the brain that would otherwise be re-traumatizing from the event. So if I say, for instance, if I was on a conscious level to push you and really push you to recount a traumatic event, okay, then you may become re-traumatized. It may be something you've suppressed, maybe something that to some degree you've forgotten, and that may be because it was quite traumatic and that's the way you've coped with it. But if I was to really push you to really remember it, you could then feel more traumatized because it's brought it to the surface more. In hypnosis, because it bypasses the amygdala in such a way, we're able to explore a traumatic event that is causing discomfort, problems in our life, anxiety, whatever. We're able to explore it so that we can get a deeper understanding of what was going on, a deeper understanding of how we perceive the event and how we can now learn to have a different perception of it to make our peace with it, so that we can resolve our relationship with it. It's not about changing the event, it's about changing how we feel about it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, no, that's wow, this is really incredible. And how, I don't know, like, I'm sure it's impossible to answer this, but in general, is there a sort of barometer of how, I don't know, and maybe it depends on the particular issue with somebody, but how many sessions someone has to go through normally to completely have the shackles off of a traumatic event that they experienced in their life? Is there, how do you guide through that?
That would depend on the person very much.
Okay.
And
what happened?
So for some people, we may be able to resolve a really big issue in one session. Mm-hmm. And then there can be other situations where somebody's just wanting to do some fine tuning, which is also a thing. And it may take several sessions to really get to the bottom of it, to really resolve a thing. Because here's the thing, it's not necessarily that people come to me just because their life's in pieces and they can't go on anymore and they need to work through stuff. Some people, they would just want to like live a better life. They're like, you know, I'm not really depressed, I'm not really anxious, but I do have this feeling that is blocking me, and I want to get to the bottom of it and clear it.
They want to augment something, maybe.
Yeah, right. So there can be this fine tuning, and by going back into what is connected to these feelings, we're able to resolve stuff, which means that we're no longer carrying the stuff that we're getting in the way from moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I'm curious. Like, is there? Obviously, don't name patients' names or anything, but are there examples through your experience through this and your work that, I don't know, like you've maybe come out of a session that you've just seen like a total, like, I don't know, for lack of a better expression, hallelujah moment, like, oh, I feel so, you know, like something like that?
Yeah, many, and it doesn't cease to amaze me, to be honest. A lot of my sessions are psychotherapy and hypnosis as a mixture, because the psychotherapy brings stuff to the surface and gives me the deeper understanding of what's going on. And then the hypnosis part, the regression, and we're able to then really go deeper into what is really fueling that emotion of despair or shame or depression, whatever it is. And from on the conscious level, you can kind of go, well, I think I know what's wrong with this person and what's going on. And then when we go deeper into the deeper mind, stuff comes out and it's like, well, I never could have known that. And we really get to the core of something. I had one lady, for instance, she had this terrible pain around her lips every time she ate. And it was really causing an eating disorder. And, she found it very difficult to express herself with her friends and family. When we went into what was all behind that, she found herself in a scene at school. And at school, she was a very shy person and she wasn't able to express herself. And the teacher was one of those very sort of Victorian values sort of teaching methods. And she was forced to have to get up in front of the class and make this speech about what it was they were meant to be saying. And obviously she was in bits about this because it just wasn't her thing. And she was forced to do that. Now, through the process of allowing her to go through that memory so we could understand what the memory was about, and then the process of resolving that and working through it, after that one session, the pain in her lips just went. No problem.
Really? After one session?
Yeah, from that one session. So
wow.
Sometimes somebody can have these real physical pain that is connected to an emotional trauma that is really beneath any memory. Mm-hmm. And so I've learned that in hypnosis, wherever we go, we just go with the flow and allow us to explore this, because we're using the emotional field that's connected to the problem, and we're using that to track back to the first time it's felt and experienced. Mm-hmm. Then we're not just going randomly into somebody's past and rooting around hoping we're going to like get lucky.
Right.
Somebody has a feeling, and that's the feeling that that's troubling them. This is what we want to work on. So we work with that feeling to track back to the root cause of it, so that then we can work in the right area. And
how much does this require the other person, or the patient, I should say, to have this work for them? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's, you know, how much do they have to relax enough for this to work properly and not resist or get too confused psychologically? And how much of it is your work, you know, guiding them through this? You know?
Yeah, so I think you speak of the process of going into a hypnotic trance.
Right.
Part of the beginning of the session that I do with clients is getting to know them and building a really good rapport. So when I have a really good rapport with a client and they fully trust what we're going to be doing, then they're more open to going into that process and trusting that where we're going to go and what we're going to do when we're there is going to be beneficial. So the beginning part of the session is to identify if there's any fear around that, fear around hypnosis, fear about the process. So that is part of the session for some people. Mm-hmm. So if part of someone's problem is trusting other people and letting go, then that becomes part of the session too, if you see what I mean.
Right.
And then when we get to that point, then we're able to go deeper into what we need to go into. Some clients, there can be quite a lot of work around that, but obviously that is also beneficial to their life in many ways anyway, because if they find it hard to trust people and feel relaxed around people, then that can be an important part of the work, even though they might have come to me for working on something separate. So it really does vary from person to person. Mm-hmm. Some people go into trance very, very quickly and very, very easily. With some people, I'm able to do inner child work. We're able to go into past lives. We're able to go into the spirit realms, connect with spirit guides, understand connections, past that are relevant. With some clients, we're able to do so much in one session because they're so responsive. Mm-hmm. With other clients, it goes very, very slowly, and we're just able to get to a space where they feel safe in like a healing garden, where we're able to sort of explore feeling relaxed and exploring the feelings of the body, and really getting them to a space where they feel safe to even experience their feelings. Because some people have had a lifetime perfecting the art and skill of suppressing all their feelings.
Everything. Yeah.
Feel anything, and everything is just from like their head of like, I feel hungry because it's lunchtime, not because they feel hungry, because they're so good at suppressing their feelings.
Yeah. And that can be so detrimental, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, and that is a survival style. You know, if what you feel is so painful, you need to shut it off. That's what people do. And this can be the root of addiction.
Sure. Yeah, but it comes back later to really do a number on your health, you know, through disease, I'm sure, you know. So, Leon, that's really interesting. I want to speak now about another therapy you do, the life between life hypnotherapy. Wow. Where you know, that kind of therapy, from what I've seen, and that was posted, that you could possibly have the experience of meeting your spirit guides. Can you please go into that?
Okay, so to refer to your first question of how I got into all this, I suppose it would be more accurate to say, really, my desire to be a life between lives practitioner is largely what fueled me to become a therapist initially, because to do the training for that, I had to train in so many other models of hypnosis first to be able to do the training on that. And that was initially what I was sort of working towards, and it's only this journey of learning all those therapies that has really kind of meant I've expanded in that other way. The life between lives process is very deep hypnosis, and they're quite long sessions. They can be from 4 to 6 hours long.
Wow.
I have done a session that was 8 hours long with a client, and they can be profoundly life-changing for people, because it can bring so much meaning into somebody's life, and it can take away the fear they have about death, and also helps them learn about their purpose, their personal soul's purpose to this life, as well as bringing self-acceptance. And I suppose the self-acceptance thing is quite an important thing for a lot of people that I find with a lot of my clients. And as you said, for meeting spirit guides, that's just part of it, because the whole process is going through a past life, through the death of a past life, and into the spirit realms, and reconnecting with the spirit guide, their main spirit guide, the loved ones, the characters from that life, and then going deeper into spirit realms to connect with their soul group, and understanding why they chose the challenges in their current life. And that understanding really turns it around for a lot of people, because they go from feeling like a victim from the challenges in their life and all those difficulties that they've suffered. It turns it around because they no longer feel like a victim of those things. They realize that they are valuable life lessons that they chose to take on as a soul because of what they want to grow from that.
Have you done this?
Oh yeah.
And so like, just to ask you personally, what are the main things that you're here on planet Earth to do, or that you learned?
Yeah, right. Okay, that's a good question.
I mean, maybe you're doing it already, obviously, but I'm just saying, like, what are the things that you came here to learn?
Okay. I am now feeling confident in what I'm doing as a therapist and moving forward in this field, as that this is something that I wanted to do pre-birth. And what I'm learning, and there's many lessons that I'm learning personally as a soul, as Leon, and I think some of the big lessons that I've been learning that are relevant to my journey as a therapist is not to try and fix everybody and heal the world, because there is, and I think this is a common, being a compassionate, wanting to help, healing kind of person, you don't want to see other people suffer. But of course, unless people come to you and ask for help, then it's like an intrusion into their world if you kind of barge in saying, I want to like help you clear this up, if you see what I mean. So yeah. Does that make sense? So for me, there's been a big lesson in accepting that I can't heal the world, and I need to focus on people that come to me who are ready to have healing, and not try and sort of see problems in the world and go, well, I've got a solution for that. Let me come and fix this for you, because that can be inappropriate, because that soul's journey may be that they're not ready to completely let go of that they're learning, i.e. the suffering is causing important learning for that soul. And if I could have a magic wand and swoop into someone's life and take away their suffering before they've learned what they desire to learn from that suffering, then I would be taking valuable life lessons from them. Not that I could do that, but if I could, that would be wrong.
Yeah.
So for my life between lives, that is one aspect of the understandings that I've taken from that, which has been really helpful for me as a therapist.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. And how does doing that specific type of therapy, like, and I'm thinking of it in a way, maybe sometimes people would do that possibly because they don't feel or see meaning in their life, possibly.
There's many reasons.
Yeah. But how does it help come full circle with a certain type of healing that they may be searching for, whether it be purpose or
well, when people come to the deeper understandings that they can gain from life between lives, it can give them a deep inner peace and acceptance of themselves and the people around them, because when we understand that everybody's learning from their experiences in life, and that's relevant to them, and it's not meaningless that what people are going through. People are learning from their experiences in life.
Right.
From the soul's perspective, in the spirit realms, as we look out to this dimension, if you like, for want of a better way of putting it, it's different, because from that perspective, we don't need to be brave, we don't get tired, we don't get hungry, we don't have the challenges that we face in this experience of life. So from that perspective, we want to come here to this realm and experience the darkness so that we can better understand the light that we come from.
Yeah, and you know, Leon, I think that's fascinating, and I've heard that speaking to other experts before, and I think for some people that's a hard idea to come to terms with, like, especially when people suffer a lot with many different things. Like,
yeah. No,
I mean, why do like, and maybe you can see this especially based on your experience and your work, actually, and everything that you've gone through. Like, what is like, is it really that important we come in human form and experience what we experience? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is the purpose of this, really?
Okay,
you know?
well, these are big questions to bring in on one focus, but I suppose the most simplest way I could answer that succinctly is we are souls having a human experience, not humans that might or might not have a soul. And through having the human experience, through interfacing with this dimension of Earth, that gives us the opportunity to experience a range of human emotions, which are very fueled by the linear time that's in this dimension. That is to say that a lot of what we're experiencing is dealing with loss because of linear time. Okay, so we come into this dimension which is impermanent, and we work real hard, we study, we become an athlete, we become a professor, we get a mortgage, we buy a house, we have kids, we have a nice car, we get the whole package, only to have to then let it all go. There's no avoiding. There's this big whole learning process of gaining and losing and letting go, which is something that as a soul, as beings of light, we don't get to experience because that's that dimension. So with that whole process, it can be quite an expanding experience. We learn and grow from that. Some might view that as suffering. From a soul's perspective, when we view it from our soul's perspective, we view our existence as many lives. We might decide to have a short life to serve other souls that we are connected with, because they are wanting to learn some really deep lesson in letting go. You know? So we might be that child that dies at a young age, and we may foresee all of those probabilities, and we take on that life because those other souls are learning from those experiences. Now, this, without really talking about this subject for a lot longer, it's quite difficult for people to really take that on and accept it, because suffering is suffering, right? You know?
No, yeah. And Leon, I have a question with that, is that it implies in a certain way that, okay, here to learn and then we grow. It implies to me a sense of, okay, when we leave this body, there's a trace of memory that carries on, you know, whether you through consciousness or through infinity or whatever it is. But there's the memory of what we did here on Earth sticks. It seems like memory is intertwined with a sense of infinity, in a sense, because you learn, you grow, and you carry it on with you. Do you see it in that way?
I suppose you could say that is the main thing we take with us. I mean, we don't take the cars, the house.
No, the U-Haul truck, nothing.
The really fancy clothes or whatever it is we may have aspired to gaining. But what we do take is those learned experiences and those memories.
Yeah,
that's part of what is our consciousness. I mean, when I talk about spirit, I suppose you could say, okay, this is consciousness. That thing that in science they can't quantify. It's the thing they can't pin down.
Right. The hard question, as they say. Right.
Consciousness, how do you measure it? I mean, this is what I'm talking about. It's the consciousness. So we are looking back as consciousness and reconnecting with all of our lives. We're aware of who we are as beings of light.
Yeah. No, incredible. And Leon, just to finish up, and such a interesting work you do, really. And Spirit Lifters, I recommend that really you check out everything that we're going to include with Leon in the video description below in just a moment. But I just want to say, Leon, just to finish, what people who do any of these therapies with you, how do you think that their lives will be so much more enriched by going through these sessions? How will they see life differently?
Well, I suppose some of the therapies I do, they're not spiritually based. Some of the therapy I do is very based within the current life, and people might be just working through anxiety. And then some of the people I work with, we go into these spiritual elements that we've been speaking about. And for some people, that's, they don't want to go there, and other people, that's really what they're looking for. And I think obviously, as a therapist, anything that people come to me and are able to resolve through my support is really a big change for them. But I think some of the biggest things are when people can make their peace with death. Whether that's death, or whether that's the death of their loved one, and this is quite a common thing that comes up really with a lot of people, is it's someone's died in the family and it's their own death that they can't face, or they've lost a loved one. And when we can go into this sort of open it out into this field of the spiritual awareness as we view it as a soul, a lot of very deep healing can happen quite fast when somebody can experience it from that point of view. Because I think our human demise, as it were, is something that is something that troubles a lot of people. Whether it's their own demise or their loved ones around us. And again, this sort of plays back into that whole thing of us having to learn about letting go and loss. So feeling at peace about death can be a really powerful thing for people that didn't have it before.
Sure. Yeah, I can imagine. And that, I guess people, especially having that kind of realization and that experience, can really understand that the gift of living life and not fearing death. Death is not the end, and I think some people, when they think and ponder on that too much, they think, well, it just becomes a kind of nihilistic world in a way. but
I think people you can see why people might tend to be very, very focused on the material, almost
right. Exactly.
Distracts them from it. But of course, you always end up getting to that point where, well, that only lasts for so long, and you still have to come back and face that you're trying to avoid facing. We all get old. Unless something suddenly happens and we check out real quick, we generally get old, and in that process of getting old, we have to slowly come to terms with letting go of everything. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it kind of makes me think and feel in a way with what you're saying, like the less is more kind of thing, right? Like the more, the more we just get in tune with what's going on in here, the material kind of dissipates a little bit. We feel more enriched being us and loving us, and just share that with the world in a certain sense, Man, where can Spirit Lifters know more about these therapies, have sessions with you, from anywhere in the world? On my website, I've got quite a lot of I've got to make reference to the different therapies I do. I have got some YouTube videos of me actually doing some life between life
that's great
work, well, so people can kind of see how that works. I've also got a page on my website which I've put up as a resource for people that are wanting to cope with anxiety, because a lot of time anxiety it causes us to be disassociated. So I've put together some different exercises that people can try out to help them kind of get that felt sense of being within their body and be able to manage, say, anxiety, which is something that
That's great. Wow.
a lot of clients I find are working through.
Excellent. Well, and that will certainly be a great resource for spirit lifters to check out, and of course all the different therapies. So spirit lifters, we will include all Leon's information in the pinned comments and the video description below. And Leon, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.